All right. Hello, everybody. It looks like we're live on air. Welcome to Nerds on the Couch Live. It is April 7th, 2018. It's Saturday night. And so, where all the nerds at? They're at home on the internet.
On the couch.
And so, I am your host, Renee Chavez.
Hi, I'm Annette.
Hey, Shimon.
Your boy Mario.
And then there's the new guy.
I'm the new guy. Hello.
Mario.
He froze.
No, you
Did not say right.
No, hold on. I didn't mute you. Did I mute you, Mario?
Maybe.
I think I did.
I don't know.
Okay. No, I just muted him.
There you go.
Look, Mario, are you hearing us? Hold on.
I got muted. There you go. Can you guys hear me?
Did we lose him?
No, he's there. Hold on. I think.
It shows that I'm talking.
Okay, I got you now. Sorry,
Whoa.
that was me. That was me
whoa.
playing with the studio.
Hello, I'm Mario. I'm the new guy, obviously.
Sorry, there's always technical glitches. Okay,
Yeah.
we haven't used the YouTube channel in a long time. Before we used the Facebook Live and all that, and we had the open studio and all that, and I'm still playing around with stuff and all that. But part of it is we try to go online. So for this show and all that, hello everybody, we're back on YouTube, and we're posting some news up and all that. And remember, we have our Facebook page on Nerds on a Couch Live. And so again, you guys can look up Nerds on a Couch and check up our YouTube channel to see the latest nerd news and all that. Thank you for being with us. It's been a while since we've been on. And before we get started to Ready Player One, I was like, wow, it's actually been like how long since we've all been together?
It's much.
Yeah, I mean, the sad part is I just realized we did not do a show for Star Wars The Last Jedi. And then we did not do a show
for Black Panther.
Yeah. And all these movies, we did not do shows. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. I just don't know. Life and all that just kept us away. But, I honestly say I miss this. So I'm glad we're all back together doing this.
I'm glad I'm part of it. Thank you.
Well, and same goes for me too. I've popped up. This is like my third time now.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm going to be part of this more often now. Now that I've actually arranged my schedule at work, so I can be a part of this.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
Well, Sherman, you've been busy. I mean, I know you've been doing your Comic-Con things, and I know you're working and all that. And that's everybody, okay? We've all been working and all that. That's really what's kept us away.
I just got off work like 2 hours ago.
Yeah,
and you're the young one.
With the habits.
I'm the tiny one. The young blood.
But, one thing I just sit here and all that, and I have to say, and before we jump into our current movie, the one thing that just screams at me seeing here and all that I just wanted to say about like Star Wars The Last Jedi, because technically it just came on DVD and Blu-ray and all that. I didn't like it.
I thought it was too funny. Should have been taken a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, like a true Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I feel like Disney really got its grasp on that one. Like, really wanted to make it more of a comedy. I did like the scene where Kylo and Rey like got into that fight with what is it? Oh man, that part was just freaking. It was just so amazing. It was so good. I could watch that so many times.
Yeah, but one of the problems that with me that I had was like how Luke just like disregarded his lightsaber, like what, and just tossed it over. I mean, come on,
That thing has been in the movies for so long, and I feel like that should have been taken more seriously.
Oh, and let's not forget about the milk scene.
Oh, that was weird. I'm pretty sure everyone at the movie felt weird.
That's the one
know,
that kind of killed me. Sorry, Sherman.
No, yeah, no, I agree with you. That one was really a why bother?
They
Well,
didn't
you
really
know
have
what?
to show that.
Well, let me point out. I didn't have a problem with the plot. Again, I thought that they really tried to make it a little too funny, too Guardians of the Galaxy. But
Yeah.
I saw the deleted scene, and they had a great deleted scene. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but they had
I
a
don't have it
deleted
yet.
scene where Luke and Ray are like one side of the island, and there's a village of those little alien Muppet guys, and they see a boat coming over, and Luke tells Ray, "Oh, that's the pirates. They come in every month and they raid that village, and then they go off." And Ray's like all upset, bent out of shape. Was like, "They do that. We got to help them and all that." And it's like, well, if we follow the Jedi Code says we don't, because balance has to maintain. Ray doesn't listen. She does this amazing backflip, and you see her like super running across the beach, and she kicks the doors in of the village, and it turns out they were partying.
Oh, okay.
It was a party. Nobody,
And they're all looking at her like, huh?
yeah. And Luke was trying to teach her a Jedi lesson, and I thought that scene should have stayed, which is a million times better than the milk scene.
Yeah, for the lesson, like I understand that. I did like the way they portrayed the dark side, how it's like empty and just. It was actually pretty scary for me, like just watching that. Oh, it was freaky.
And I liked Yoda coming back.
I did like that.
That hit that nostalgia chord.
Yoda coming out made Luke want to go in peace. The way he destroyed the books, but he really didn't because he knew Rey had taken them. I love that part. That part was great. Especially at the end when he opens the drawer and the books are in there. It's just like a tiny second. If you miss it, it's horrible. But if you got it, then that's the best.
But then they were telling them, hey, it's not needed. That's the part that threw me off, where, and I remember with Sherman and all that, with the old guys, we talked about this extensively, about the new, the new order, the new ways of the Jedi, and it's all forgotten and all that. And, the fact books are there, okay. But then, like they were saying, you know what, we don't need them. And Yoda just said, you know what, she doesn't need it.
But
and it's kind of like, why are we doing this, man?
Why are we doing this?
My whole gripe about the way they did The Last Jedi was the fact that, it really felt, to me, it felt like it was a commercialization rush. In other words, they took these characters that, were so well known, Luke in particular, and killed him off so that they could hurry up and bring up the new crop so that they could do what they want to do. This is now Disney's, and those movies are great for what they were, but this is where we want to go. So in order to do that, we need to break ties and just go ahead and cut out everybody. So that's the reason behind a poor backstory to Snoke, and that's the reason why Luke is off after trying so hard to build back up something that he so desperately wanted to be a part of. It was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a great Jedi. I'm going to be a great Jedi. That went wrong. I hate this.
And you nailed it, man. I mean, that's really why they did it. The passing of the guard, have a new group, and all that. And that was the whole theme of it at the end. With that kid in that last scene, using the Force to make the broom handle go to him and all that. And I didn't want that.
Yeah, but they didn't need to make Luke, look like a crying little baby.
Exactly.
Let him go with some dignity.
I know.
I would have been fine if Kylo killed him too. I would have been okay with that.
Yeah, because then he went out the way he was supposed to go out. The way
it would have embraced Kylo's complete dark side, and I feel like that would have been a great thing to do.
Yeah, but they didn't want to because they kind of, for the last movie, The Force Awakens, they were kind of getting flack saying, "Oh, that they repeated themselves." And if Kylo Ren killed Luke, it would have been the same thing. Darth Vader killing Obi-Wan.
But
And
that,
so,
you know what? But at that point, it would actually make more sense.
yeah, I agree with you. You know, that's the point. But I'm saying that was their reasoning. I'm willing to bet that was their reasoning.
But you know what? It's just like, with life. Life always comes to a full circle. Okay.
Yeah.
And life repeats itself. So why can't it repeat itself in the movie, especially when it's supposed to be about life?
That's true. And he did say that his movies they're like a poem. They just repeat themselves too.
But
all
let
movies
me
are gonna mirror themselves.
Well, let me just end with this little last thought on this subject. I am so glad J.J. Abrams is back to direct the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And the rumor is he's going to retcon, fix. J.J. Abrams kind of went, I need to fix this again.
He's gonna go like this and just let's do this. Crack some bones.
Yeah, let's see him do something like that. And okay, and the next one, like I said, the one we're here for, and this one, Sherman, you might remember with the old groups and all that I've talked about Ready Player One.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite books. I'm the sci-fi nerd. And I absolutely loved Ready Player One. I was just thrilled with it. And I was excited when they said Steven Spielberg's going to direct it. And it was all this hoopla around it. And now that it's come and it's kind of made this noise and all that, first question I have for the group here. Do you guys think that it just didn't live up to the hype, or did it?
I think it did. I personally think it did, but I want to hear everyone else's.
Well, I never read the book. So, for me going in, understanding that it was basically a game about nostalgia, I went in there, fairly open-minded. It was like, okay, let's see what they got. And I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, But again, I've heard the complaints where, if you're a super fan of the book, then maybe the movie doesn't quite cut it for you. But I mean, I think that happens with every book that gets translated into a movie.
Well, I don't want to say that I was completely, it didn't follow the book exactly, and it didn't. But part of it, that I wanted them to touch on was the themes in the book. Part of the theme in the book, yes, it was that 80s nostalgia, and there's a reason behind it, which I don't think they kind of covered it enough in the movie. And certain scenes, I know it wasn't going to translate well in the from the book to the movie. Like the first one, the first challenge in the book was playing the wizard in an arcade in the game of Joust. Remember the old arcade game of Joust with the little ostrich?
Mario won't know that, he's too young.
I don't know if I know Joust. I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen anything about it.
He's just a baby.
Here's where we get old,
Well, see, and I think that's the reason why they went ahead and they changed it from the book to the way that they did in the movie, because otherwise they would lose the kids. They'll be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So they have to.
Yeah, for the younger audience, I understand that. I mean, I can always search it and then see what it's about because I'm not too far off from all these things. But I mean,
yeah, but people that are younger than you who are going there, they're gonna be like, what? And they'll just completely lose the whole.
Even then, I feel like the Iron Giant was like, who is that? Like, I love the Iron Giant. I personally, that's one of my favorite movies. So.
Oh man. See, and the Iron Giant, I don't know if he was in the book or not, but the main robot at the climatic battle scene was Ultraman. The anime. Yeah, in the book it was Ultraman, but I understand certain things. Like I get that they didn't get the rights to Disney, and there is some Star Wars references, and there is Star Wars characters, of course, in it. And in the book, I mean, there's a whole lot. Yes, there's the Ecto one. There's the Ghostbusters themes, and they had a whole bunch. But the one thing I really enjoyed, and part of the thing they touched on, is that the world is messed up, and that's kind of a mirror to ourselves. The movie is kind of reflecting ourselves, that this is a messed up world we live in. And honestly, I can't say we're that far off from that world that they're showing. And they show that it's better, that these people escape. And honestly, what they touched on, and I thought what they really did well, was that society kind of gave up.
Yeah. You can even tell from like where they're living. Yeah. Their living situations aren't the best, but when they go into it, they're all luxurious. They're completely different people. Like, they just get to portray themselves as who they want to be.
And it's so easy.
Which is not far for, like you said.
Yeah, you can do that now.
Yeah, you go into some chat room and stuff, and here you think that you're flirting with this beautiful girl, and it's a big old fat slob at the other side,
Catfish. You can get catfish nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, but imagine how bad it is in the Oasis,
That's
especially with that
completely
suit,
Oh, you see completely different things. Like,
I mean, something different.
And they didn't talk about this, but I mean, how far-fetched is it to actually think about, like, married couples who are having problems, and it's like, hey, honey, let's go on a date in the Oasis, right? And I show up and I look like Renee's perfect girlfriend, or like Cindy Crawford from way back then.
Cindy Crawford.
See, again, another reference Mario doesn't know. Okay.
Call the Pepsi commercial.
Far off of this one. I have no idea what's happening.
You haven't seen the commercial?
Yeah. Her son is a model, and then so Pepsi says that it's his son and like his mom, or like his mom before him. Then it flashes over to her drinking a Pepsi.
Yeah, because come on, Sherman. Back in that day, Cindy Crawford was everywhere. You don't remember?
That's true.
I might have to search her, because I can't picture who she is right now.
Yeah.
I've heard her name. I know her name.
They did a Pepsi commercial, okay? But
a Pepsi commercial.
Yeah.
Well, see, I realized the movie was probably a little bit more for our generation, and Mario, you just got to enjoy a little bit of it, but I mean, we got the reference. I think us older folks got all the references, and I did enjoy that. I mean, that was like a cool scene. I mean, the Shining scene I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts.
Everybody in the theater was like, "Oh my god!"
Especially when the twins showed up. When the twins showed up, everybody was like, "Oh my god!"
I'm not even gonna lie. When the twins came up, it kind of freaked me out, because that movie freaked me out when I was little, and I think that whole scene is Stanley Kubrick is just amazing.
I loved it when Freddy Krueger popped out.
That was cool.
Chucky.
Oh yeah,
Chucky. He was a DLC. That is so cool. He was DLC. Oh man.
Yeah, there were so many cameos, and it's I think for the next year people are going to be pulling out, oh look at especially when the DVD comes out, people are going to be stop motioning like that movie for like the next year and a half, trying to find every last Easter egg in that movie. And that movie has tons galore.
Oh, they're doing that now with the bootlegs. Like one I totally missed, but somebody pointed. I mean, they had the He-Man lunchbox, which I saw. The kid had it in his like little lair, and then somebody took a screenshot of a bootleg, and apparently He-Man and Skeletor show up in the battle scene.
Oh.
And somebody saw a Transformer.
Yeah,
I saw the Transformer.
I saw that on, I read an article on like 100 Easter eggs in the movie, and You know, I think it was Optimus Prime. It looked like Optimus Prime. You know, it's in the Bible scene, so he's like in the back, and so they don't really show it real good. But you can, if you look close enough, you can make it out.
Yeah, and then oh, which one's like the obscure reference? Like I saw Battletoads.
Yeah.
In that one, and I was like, nobody would get that unless you played Battletoads, which I did.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there were a number of games that they used that, you know, unless you actually played them, you got no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know what Battletoads is, so I would have missed that completely. So
yeah, see, again, the younger guy doesn't get, you know, and a kid.
No,
right?
I know. I'm 15 years off of like those 80 references.
No, Mario. Wait. Hey, Renee, isn't the Battletoads those little plastic ones that you push on their butt and they flip?
No, it was a video game. No. Battletoads was an old Nintendo game, and it was like, you know, kind of a mirror reflection of Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it was a knockoff version.
Yeah, like a knockoff. Yeah, I mean, back then they came out with like Samurai Cats, and you know they came up, but Battletoads was actually a knockoff version. But it was actually a pretty fun game. You know, they fought with weapons, and they did like kicks and high jumps, and it was actually a really entertaining Nintendo game. I don't think that it went beyond anything else aside from the like one Nintendo game or maybe a sequel. I'm not sure. Which again, we got to talk to the Nintendo historian about that. But wow, you know, I mean, those references and all that were just really amazing. But part of it. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, but you know, part of this movie was not just about the nostalgia, though, you know, but there was also a life lesson to be learned as well, which me and you have gotten into arguments about.
Yeah, you know, the topic for discussion that again we were segueing into was, you know, was Halliday the villain?
No.
Wasn't
the creator of the Oasis?
Halliday was the creator.
Yeah.
So Halliday wasn't the villain.
Because the idea was he created this game, or not the game, but he created that virtual world. Excuse me. And part of it was that all around him, he was alive for a lot of years and all this, and the world was going downhill. And this gentleman had trillions, or in the book, he was actually a quadrillionaire. And, you know, he had all this influence, all this power, and all this, and he did nothing. And then not only did he do nothing, he purposely created this situation when he passed away. Like the big plot was that when he passed away, you know, he gave, you know, he put up these puzzles and he put up these, you know, challenges that the one thing I don't think that they captured in the book, but they didn't capture in the movie, was that these puzzles were really, really difficult. And it took people like almost 20, in the book, it took people like 20 years, you know, before Wade came in and he kind of broke the first code, the first riddle. But what ended up happening, and it kind of touched on in the movie, was that because he did this, he spun that world, he spun the whole world into chaos. Because when everybody, you know, basically when this challenge got up and he offered his control of the not only the Oasis, but all his gajillion dollars, all his estate money and everything, which was locked up. And so after all these years, there's tons of interest. You can imagine interest on interest, and you know how much more it is that, you know, that he plunged the world into this situation. He created, and because basically what ended up happening, it kind of covers it in the movie, but not some, but more in the book, was that he kind of threw this whole world into chaos because everybody just dropped what they were doing and went crazy for this. trying to figure out these clues and all that. Countries, governments, he did this. And part of reason why we got this bad world is because of him.
But see, where I come, the argument that I've been arguing with my husband about was that, yes, you're right. He did create this world. Yes, but everybody became money hungry because of him saying, okay, if you pass my quest, you get my money. Okay, which who wouldn't? I mean, look how society goes right now. When the lotto gets up to $500 million, everybody wants to go buy a lottery ticket.
You really do see like so many people at 7-Elevens and any of those corner stores. It's a little crazy.
Yeah, there's been times where there's like a huge line just to buy lotto tickets. Who wouldn't? Okay, but my argument is the fact that when does it stop being that he was the problem, and when does society start taking responsibility for their own actions? Okay, right now, and that's what I was telling him. I go, even like with society today, nobody is forcing you to get onto the Oasis. No one's forcing you to get onto the internet. You do that because it gives you time away from reality, even if it's just for a split second. Okay, so you have to be responsible for your own actions, and if you decide to let the world go to
heck,
right? Because because you are too busy trying to follow a dream that may never come true. Okay, well then that's on you and no one else.
So what are you guys' thoughts?
It's great. I'm really watching what I want to say because I don't want to spoil it for those people who haven't seen it. But it makes a whole lot of sense. Looking at the fact that things get so bad that everybody just tries to escape into the Oasis, and it's become a part of life. It's not like how video games are, where some people can get caught up. No, this is like you were saying earlier, this is a worldwide phenomenon, and this is life for people. All they do is go into the Oasis and they live their lives there because their lives are so crappy at home, and it's it's because of greed, it's because of evil, it's all of the above. Every bad thing that's happening, is that's going on in the world now goes on in the world then, but but it is really exploded upon. So I mean, there's just so much going on, and so you really see why these people, go into the Oasis, and now that they're in it, they really don't want to go back to their lives because you go back to the real world and it sucks.
Well, it's like World of Warcraft a few years back.
Everybody
was on it.
Before the poison. Oh.
You guys are pretty much covering everything, like I would think. That's pretty
all right, Mario, you're gonna pick sides. Okay.
Oh no! I'm not picking any sides. I do think he what's his name?
Wade.
No, the creator of the Oasis. I do think he.
That was Halliday. Halliday.
Yeah, I think he was part of like the huge problem. I agree that he could be like the villain. Not the obvious villain though, the seeker one that nobody will really see unless you actually like detail the movie and watch it constantly.
Well, and here's why I would disagree with that, because typically when you see a villain, you see somebody that's intent on doing evil. Mm-hmm. And I don't see Halliday as creating this Oasis as being intent on being evil so that he could suck the lives out of people. It just it evolves the way it does because he personally, instead of dealing with reality, escaped into this fantasy world. And because he was so involved in this fantasy world, he missed opportunities to really in life.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, okay? Because in when a person creates something, they can create it for the best intentions, okay? But once you create it, once you put it out into the public's view, right? Then from that point on, it takes a shape of its own, its mind of its own. You no longer have control over what that creation is doing because everybody else is putting their 2 cents in. And that's why I said that I didn't think that he was the bad guy, because he put it in, like you said, with good intentions for, for the Oasis, but society turned around and molded it into the monster that it turned into.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense.
I win, yay!
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And that's your lesson for today, young Padawan. We don't have to worry about that.
I know. I have a lot to learn, guys.
I leave it, but again, that's just, that's still, I think, that's a philosophical debate. And, as far as things go, finishing that topic, do we think there'll be a sequel coming?
I think so. Just because of marketing and the fact that this is one of the few movies to continue
to show the 90s.
Keep Black Panther down for a couple weeks. It had a strong showing, and so because of that, they're going to try to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I think they will.
Be a sequel to it though, because since I didn't read the book, I wouldn't know if a sequel would be.
No, that part really kind of, the ending. Again, not giving away the ending or anything, but it did follow that. It did follow the story pretty close. Okay, so again, just to point out, with the book, it did follow the story, and it did have the same ending. Of course, different situations and all that, but it did follow that ending. So, based on the ending that we saw, do we see sequels in that?
I think if they do a sequel, it's going to be going on to like the 90s and 2000s, so that the kids can catch up. You're going to start seeing Super Mario Brothers out there, and
well, no, Nintendo is actually pretty. They have a good grip on their copyrights.
Or yeah, because
Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, maybe PlayStation, right? Yeah. Stuff like that. Maybe we'll start seeing some of those newer games popping up. I mean, come on, if Wreck-It Ralph can go from from an arcade game to to the internet, why can't that?
That's true. And you gotta imagine the fact that here it is, the Oasis is supposedly in good hands. Somebody's gonna want to try to take that away. So that could be the whole script right there. Somebody always wants to come in and take over something that's good.
That's what I would assume the new movie would be about.
The new bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about the main villain?
Or maybe iRock can come back, and want to exact his revenge.
Corporate guy, and again, this was, as a whole, I got to say though, it was a good story. It followed the formula of not a superhero, but it did follow the formula of, saving the world, doing, the typical save the world story. And the bad guy, which again is the typical corporate bad guy.
Right.
That we're used to. He's like all business. I'm a businessman. I don't care about anything except money and business. And
everything he did was done like through money, and like he never really did any of the dirty work.
Well, no, because he had, business guys never do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They have the money; they could pay someone else.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I give this movie, I would say, about a solid A.
Okay.
I'm going number scale. I'm going 8.
Out of 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? I'd agree with Super Mario there. I think a solid 8. Solid 8.5 is where this movie's at. It's definitely worth watching.
Well, as I give it a grade, and I'm going to give it like an academic grade. It's got to go with the theme, ladies and gentlemen. It gets an 80.
An 80?
Okay. Or I'm going to go with the best year. Again, the best year of the 80s was 1984. 1984 was a cultural year where Terminator came out.
Transformers.
Back to the Future was coming. The trailers were out and all that. And a bunch of movies and all that came out, and a lot of great big songs came out in 84. So, so it gets a grade of an 84. It was good. It was worth watching. It had some flaws.
What happened?
You don't know about Purple Rain?
Wait, no, I didn't hear it because no, I didn't hear it. My screen froze.
Yeah, Purple Rain. God bless Prince. God bless his soul.
I know Purple Rain. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to try to say. I was gonna be like Mario. When I see you at work, I'm gonna smack you.
or Sherman. Yeah. 1984 MTV Video Awards. Madonna.
There's like flashback. Mario, look that one up.
I'll have to do that later, but yeah, I will. MTV Music Awards?
MTV Music Awards, Madonna.
Madonna.
Yeah, that was a great year.
Like a version.
Yeah.
Oh man, I have no idea what that is, so I will search it though. I want to know what it's about.
Oh, young one.
Back though, that's pretty tame compared to today's standard.
It was, but for again a little kid watching that, for again, I was like 13 years old. No, sorry, I wasn't even 13.
No, you were 9.
Yeah, I was 9. But I hit puberty at that moment.
Decade and a half.
Yeah, sorry, miscounted, but moving on though.
So we're not worrying about it. We're not gonna hold it against you.
Yeah, don't worry. But now that we got that out of the way, and Sherman mentioned Black Panther, which was another. I gotta say that was the best Marvel movie I've seen in a while. To me, I hold it as number 2. The first one I love above all others was Captain America: The First Avenger, and then this one. This one we talked briefly off air about it, but I got to give it props for I was kind of having Marvel fatigue. I was getting kind of tired. I was like expecting the same hackney movie. I enjoyed Spider-Man: Homecoming, but same thing. I kind of felt like I've seen it before.
This was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it really was. And I give credit for it adapting a culture. And it honestly just had it was culturally powerful. And at the same time, it had a solid plot, a great villain, which, man, Marvel got to learn to take care of their villains. I wanted to see this guy back again. He deserved to come back.
I know, right? Out of all the villains that that exist, kill off the good one.
Loki's has amazingly stuck around though. I'm really grateful for that because Loki's pretty good.
Yeah, but he's our only one.
I know. I can't believe he's the only one that stuck around.
But not only that though, but Loki is like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that Loki goes back and forth from being, from being a villain to being a hero, and so it's like he's not a constant villain, so it's kind of like, yeah.
Well, you were going around the same about direction that I was. Well, I was going to try to say that Loki's starting to turn into a wuss, but.
Well, to point out too, I have mixed feelings about Thor Ragnarok. I honestly, overall, had to say I didn't like it.
They had too much humor in it.
Yeah, I liked the intensity, but then same point I pointed out before, I didn't like Thor: The Dark World because again they mistreated their villains so badly in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, and again, Black Panther, they had a great villain who had legitimate reasons to do what he did. He was a killer, but he was also a victim of racism in a country that, you know, that does have racism. You know,
Why does it?
Yeah. And so, you know, there's sometimes, you know, he wanted to ignite not a race war, but a push for the system to change. And of course, some people want to do it peacefully, other people want to do it violently, and he was leaning toward violently.
All the scars on his body.
Well,
it is signs of injustice. That was my point.
And you know, it's a great point to bring up, because I was reading something where somebody alluded to the fact that, you know, if you look at history, you could look at Killmonger in light of Malcolm X and Black Panther in the light of Martin Luther King. Much like how Magneto and Xavier were opposites, but also could understand each other. You know,
you're very right about that. Yeah.
You know, so but the way they played it out and the way they played it off of each other, I mean, you guys all agree. I mean, it was spot on. You know, he was a villain that had a purpose, and it wasn't just a "I want world domination" purpose. It was a purpose built on the fact that, hey, I was wronged. I was legitimately wronged. You know, both by my own, you know, via, you know, the I can't remember the father's name, but you know how the father killed the brother. Yeah. So he was wronged by his own people, as well as he was continually being wronged by, you know, the society that he lived in. And so he had a righteous right. However, you know, we can agree that he abused that right and, you know, turned it into something, you know, that was just a bastardized version of, you know, revenge.
Well, that's kind of where it went off, because, yeah, you know, if he had noble intentions, he could have been the hero. But no, he had revenge, he had hatred, and it led it to that way. And unfortunately, you know, again, it falls to it. But because of that movie, I am so looking forward to, and again, this is leading to the summer blockbusters, you know, and I have to say, I think the one that's going to be king this summer is probably going to be Avengers Infinity War, because those trailers have been mind-blowingly awesome.
Yeah, but I can't wait to see what Tony Stark thinks of his sister.
Of what?
No, Black Panther's sister. I forgot her name, but
oh, okay.
That sister is incredible. Is like 100 times smarter than Tony Stark. You know,
that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, I don't like you.
Well, Tony Stark doesn't like anybody having more technology than him, so I think he's gonna have a fit when he finds out about Wakanda. You know?
Oh, definitely.
You know what? You know, in all the seriousness that this movie dropped, you know, there were a ton of extremely comical moments, like when King T'Challa comes into, you know, Shuri's lab, and she's talking to him, and she's like, "What? But what are those? What is that on your feet?" She's ripping
pop culture references.
Yeah. And she's ripping them for the chocolate he's wearing, you know.
Well, one of the things that I really enjoyed was the fact that you can see the love between the brother and sister. I mean, they pinned. I mean, it was so great of acting that it was like if they were brother sister.
Yeah,
that's true.
You can tell that they grew very close and very accepting of one another, and it's good. And you know, but with all the jokes, with all the seriousness, I think one of the best things that this movie shows is that, you know, representation matters. You know, everybody. I mean, everybody can bring something to the table if you just let them. And I think this movie proved a whole lot and just blew it out the water.
Oh, that again, it's hard to say. Some people say, well, it was cultural. Other people say no, because Wakanda's not a real place and all this. But I like to think that, yeah, that was the lesson. And to me, I was just amazing. And this is where I kind of asked a question to you guys is, where is this going to go, do you think, after the Avengers? Because in the trailer, we see Wakanda. We see that it's going to have a big place in the movie, in the Avengers movie. There's the trailer, and it's obviously there's a big battle scene coming in, and then we see different characters in Wakanda and all that, and in parts of it we see Doctor Strange in New York and all that. So I don't know if we see Doctor Strange in Wakanda and all that, but it looks like Wakanda is going to have like a big impact on the Avengers movie. And so afterwards, the question for the group is, where do you think they're going to take this, the Marvel series after?
I haven't seen the next phase.
Yeah, I have. I wouldn't even know because I read that the Avengers 4 title is crazy scary. Like, it's going to take it completely different route. It's going to be scary, more serious, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, that's what I was reading at least. I'm not sure if it'll like pan out, and I hope it does. I would like a more serious and dark Marvel.
Well, I think they're due for a reboot because we know, yeah, everybody's getting too old. Robert Downey Jr., man, he's getting too old for this. Chris Evans said this is it for him, and so did Chris Hemsworth said this is it for him. And all these other guys, they're kind of over the hill. I mean, we're not even seeing Hawkeye anywhere.
I heard there's a reason for it, but he's a big part of it too.
I know, just poor guy.
What about me?
He has no coverage.
He's in the ad though, I thought. Right? Like when they did those posters last week or week before.
Yeah, just barely last week. Those the individual posters barely came out with him.
Where it's just him and all the characters.
Yeah, they're photoshopping him as everybody because people feel bad for him, and there's the where's Hawkeye movement happening.
Where's the Hawkeye movement? That's great.
But you know what though, the way they wrote his character, they honestly they kind of pigeonholed him into being a lesser character. So now if Jeremy Renner was to turn around and be offered a singular movie for Hawkeye, it wouldn't there wouldn't be a hype around it.
Well, I can't imagine them really doing a Hawkeye movie.
A Hawkeye and Deadpool.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a team up. Like, I mean, for Black Widow, yeah, they could do a Black Widow movie, but I see it as a team up.
Black Widow movie because I think she's shown everything in these movies already. Same thing with Hawkeye. They've both shown, what they're capable of in the movies. So it's like, okay, their own movie is saying, man.
Well, you have a point. You have a point, but I'm saying if they wanted to, they could do one.
Yeah, they could.
And it would be solid, it'd be solid, but yeah, it wouldn't be groundbreaking.
Not like they did the Netflix one.
Yeah, and again, a Netflix series would have been better. I did like the storyline they had a few years back where they had the Punisher and Black Widow.
Yeah, that was perfect though.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, because of how much all these movies are coming out to and how much the cost and stuff, maybe they might steer away from the big screen and go on to, Netflix like everybody else is, and they would cut on their budget.
There's truth in that, but honestly, I don't see them doing that because they make tons of money. They know if they do another Captain America movie, it's going to sell. People are going to go see Captain America. They don't do it. The real question is, people ask, why don't you do Iron Man 4? Well, because it's too, Robert Downey Jr. would be too expensive. But if you get somebody else to come in and
Well,
be Tony Stark,
that's what I'm saying though. That if they do a reboot with people, new people and stuff like that, and they're gonna cost less to hire, right? Then they would turn around and just stick them on Netflix,
well, no, they make money at the movies.
Assuming
if anything, the reboot should be done because now that Disney owns Fox, I feel like that could bring in all the accurate characters and references and.
Well, they don't own Fox, but they have a deal. They have a deal now. They're getting the Fantastic Four back, which is finally, thank God Almighty. And actually, since you jumped on it, that's where I like to see the reboot. I honestly think it's time for again a soft reboot. No more origins. You don't need to do an origin, but you need to kind of, get back to stories. You need to get back to telling cool stuff and getting some excitement going. And I would do a soft reboot with the Fantastic Four.
Would you do a TV show or a movie?
I would jump to a movie, and that would be the platform to jump into, okay, now we have Reed Richards talking to Tony Stark, during the after credit scenes or something like that, or, Ant-Man, or again, Reed Richards talking to Hank Pym, about some stuff. And Tony Stark kind of jumps in, and because I've always wanted to see that scene in the movies, where
all the
Reed
doctors
Richards
together.
Yeah, all the smart people are together, and they're kind of showing like how really smart. And now we have that the sister from Black Panther, in that table.
And she's like, "Oh, please."
No, I actually think Reed Richards, if he was put in there, he'd be way smarter than everybody in that room. In the Marvel universe, he's like the smartest guy anywhere. But it'd just be interesting to see Reed Richards in that universe. Or again, the Thing fighting the Hulk. We need to have that.
We need to have that fight.
That would be worth money there. I mean, they kind of played that Hulk turning bad thing, but I mean, even with Thor Ragnarok, the Hulk's appearance in there, it was actually a good, almost a good reboot for him, and getting away from the split between Robert Bruce Banner and and the Hulk. Whereas now we're starting to get into the Hulk that more comic book fans are aware of, that Hulk and his counterpart have actually started to really meld minds, so to speak. So the Hulk comes off a lot smarter now.
Yeah.
Well, jumping on, and time is kind of slipping away from us. Jumping on to some of the summer movies where I'm looking forward to. I know it's not a big one, but damn it caught my interest. I want to see Rampage.
Rampage?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Based off a video game.
Not the one. Have you guys seen that other one The Rock is doing, where there's a poster of like the sky and he's like jumping?
Yeah, there's so many things. They made fun of that poster so much. There was one where it was a Super Mario thing, and then he jumped on a Koopa, and then he made it to the window.
They had actual scientists, doing the analysis, and they're doing the diagramming, showing, well, technically, a human man runs this fast, and according to the speed and the jump, he's going to go straight down. We're watching a suicide movie.
So that was a poster for Rampage?
No, that's another one. That The Rock is in everything now. He's doing like 10
I
movies.
That he was in another movie where it looked like he was jumping from building to building.
Yeah, that's the poster one. Yeah.
Okay.
But people just keep making fun of it because it looks like according to physics, he's not going to make it.
Yeah, no, physics ain't gonna be with him. Nope, not at all.
And, at the very least, even if he does make it to the other building, you got to account for some of that glass going in his eye and in his
I don't know, man.
It's all muscle. Man, he just reflects that all off. He's the real life Superman. No, but Well, one, I was actually surprised. You know, I mean, I remember the video game Rampage when I was a kid.
I remember that game.
And then I found out, and then like years ago, I found out they're doing a movie. Yeah, with The Rock, really? And I was like thinking, God, that's going to be the dumbest movie in the world. And now it actually surprised me. The trailer looks good. It has like a good story with, you know, it kind of tells you basic story. It doesn't look complicated. You know, some chemical thing gets hit around the world, hits certain animals, and The Rock has that white gorilla, and
then Negan from The Walking Dead walks in and says, "You got a gorilla."
yeah,
You say Negan?
Yeah,
yeah, Negan's in it.
What? I didn't know that. Oh, that's true. Never mind. No, I remember the trailer.
Yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. See, I still kind of know him as Bruce Wayne's dad. You know.
Yeah.
Which again, it's a shame. It's a shame we didn't do a Justice League review. You know, that would have been a discussion. But you know, jumping on, you know, to that one, man, you know, I mean, I know we have the Avengers coming up, Rampage. Which other one? And then you kept a list.
Oh no, I don't have it on me right now. But yeah, I mean, on the 13th is when Rampage comes out, and then that at the same time, that's the same weekend that we have the convention here in El Paso. You know.
Yeah.
Which we'll be covering that this weekend also.
Okay, I got the list. I'm sorry. Okay, so again, we have that one. Deadpool 2 looks good. Although they said that they're doing a lot of reshoots apparently because they weren't happy with it.
Interesting.
For which one?
Deadpool. That like supposedly they're still doing reshoots, and they're kind of saying that the movie fell apart. And so because of that, they called everybody back together, and they're reshooting lots of parts, lots of stuff. And the way the shooting is now scheduled, they'll probably be editing it and fixing it up and all that almost till the release date.
Oh.
Which kind of worries me, but you know, I don't know, you know, I mean, sometimes when they do these reshoots and all that, it really does fix a movie.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't know that nothing could fix that, man. You know, what's that about polishing a turd?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's the one I saw that at the movie theaters and I wanted to walk out. Oh, that was just so terrible. And then well, like one I found out, which again I'm looking forward to seeing the Solo Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I'm having mixed emotions about that.
There is, because there's a history behind that. You know, I mean, the original directors were the guys who did the Lego movie, which again, thinking, why did you assign those guys to do a Star Wars movie? And then like halfway into production, Disney saw it and they were like, oh my God, this is so bad. This is so terrible. They shut everything down. They told everybody to take a vacation for a week. And in that week, they fired the directors, which one, it's got to hit your ego really big. You know, I kind of feel bad for them on that part. And then they brought in Ron Howard, and Ron Howard's a great director. He's an amazing director. And so that's a good choice. And they brought in like 3 guys to redo the script and everything. And that's what we've seen. That's in the trailer. And that's what we look at. And supposedly that they're not even happy with the guy playing Solo.
Oh.
And you know what? That was from just looking at the doggone commercial for it. I was like, he doesn't even capture any of the mannerisms from Han Solo in any of the previous trilogy. I'm like, come on, man. At least do justice to the character that you're playing by at least trying to pick up on some of his mannerisms. You know, he doesn't have that smirk. You know, he doesn't really have that vibe. He's just, you know, a guy playing a part, and it's just, you know, hey, I'm going to do this part, and it's going to be great. No,
Yeah, and well, imitating or again trying to follow Harrison Ford is an impossible task in itself.
That dude's amazing.
Yeah, I mean he's one of the greatest actors, and he has that charisma. Just he is a charismatic actor. He's really charming. Even as Indiana Jones, Han Solo, yeah, he's got that smirk. And some people do the smirk, and you look like a jerk. He does the smirk, and women go, ah, they just fall over him. And this guy, he doesn't even look like him.
Nope.
I see the scar. They did put the scar on him. And, there is a difference. If you have a really good actor and you're playing a character, the actor can pull it off. I mean, Chris Pines did an amazing he does an amazing Captain Kirk. Zachary Quinto does follow the spirit of Spock, in the Star Trek remakes. And this guy, though, he looks like a kid who just came out of High School Musical or something.
You know what? I even think Zach Efron would have done a better job.
All right, so
he might have.
So I'm taking a look at the list now, and so another great movie that will be coming out also is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
The trailer caught my interest. The trailer looked good, but I'm trying to think, because of the dialogue I saw in the trailer, did it happen before or after the Avengers: Infinity War?
Oh,
because
I didn't even think about that.
No, because the Wasp kind of said, it's like, are you angry at me that I didn't take you? And she was like, no, but if you took me, you wouldn't have gone to jail. We would have gotten away, So I don't know, it looks good.
I think it's coming on like after.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's coming out the date after, but again, that's one that's I'm looking forward to it, but we haven't seen much of anything.
One thing that I'm kind of like, what is I see that there's a movie poster for Venom.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah.
I think that comes out later towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Was there a trailer?
Yeah, there's a trailer.
It doesn't show anything. I saw it, but I couldn't even tell. Okay.
Oh,
because it's really weird, in the direction that they're going with Venom. So I don't know. We'll have to really see what they do with the movie when it comes out.
Yeah, and then
I mean,
supposedly, and again, this was a rumor. Tom Holland was seen on set. He's the guy playing Spider-Man right now.
Right.
So supposedly,
but that would make sense. That would make sense if they were to put him in a movie at some point. It's just weird how they're just automatically jumping into the middle of the story with Venom.
Well, that trailer, oh my God, I mean, I had such a problem with that trailer.
Again, it was weird.
Yeah, and oh man, like the only thing worse than that, jumping onto this, was the New Mutants trailer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's in the it's a horror movie, and I'm like, you're using mutants in a horror movie?
I haven't seen that trailer yet.
Yeah, it looks like a horror movie, and somebody said it is a horror movie, and I'm like, I'm out. I'm not seeing it.
I mean, but it makes. I think we talked about where Marvel would go, and I think that would be a logical progression, and one they should take. There is a genre for horror, and if you do a horror movie right, you're going to get the people, and it's just a matter on if they actually do a good enough job with it. It could really play off for them. If it doesn't, then
Yeah, but how many horror characters does Marvel have? They have tons. I mean, a Blade movie. They could go back to Blade.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been cool.
I kind of think that it's gonna go down the same path as like when we saw the previews for The Mummy.
Oh, the Tom Cruise one.
Yes, I mean, You know,
I
everybody
still haven't
thought
seen it yet.
Don't see it. Don't.
no. You know, I
Tom
mean,
Cruise owes me money.
Tom Cruise only money.
I'm
If
just
I
saying
ever
that.
see him, I'm gonna be like, Tom, you owe me like about 50, and he'll be like, okay, here you go. You know, he'll know why.
Look, I'm gonna go watch it on Redbox, and then I'm gonna write him and be like, hey, you owe me $1.50.
Well, you know, as you guys know from my other times that I've been on here, you know, I love my Disney movies. I love my Pixar movies. I like animation, right? Well, we have The Incredibles 2 coming back finally.
That's true. That movie looks great.
I was all
That's gonna be
excited about it
It
until I
picks
saw
up
the
right where it
trailers.
ends.
It does, but then I saw the trailer, and okay, I mean, I'm gonna see it. I'm having hopes, but I'm getting like a Mr. Mom vibe.
Mr. Mom. That's true.
No, that's what the trailer looks
Well,
like.
okay,
It looks
well,
like the mom.
again, Mario might be too young for that, Renee.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you haven't seen Mr. Mom, but it was a Michael Keaton movie in the 80s. Oh, gosh, to be with somebody young. Oh, but
I know.
oh,
Completely different generation.
And just so you know, Michael Keaton would be the would be playing the Vulture on Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
yeah.
That's definitely interesting.
Okay, was a big hit movie called Mr. Mom, starring Michael Keaton in the 80s. And basically, again, it's kind of sexist now, but Michael Keaton gets fired from his corporate job. And because of that, his wife, who was a housewife, gets a job offer for his secretary. And so all of a sudden, Michael Keaton has to be the housewife, or again, nowadays it's a stay-at-home husband. And
Stay home husband.
yeah. And Terry Garr, the wife, becomes a secretary, but then she comes up with some ideas. She starts climbing the corporate ladder, and she's starting to have corporate success, while Michael Keaton is at home taking care of the 2.5 kids, and hilarity ensues because apparently a man can take care of a house. You know, again, it was the 80s. It was the 80s. It was kind of a sexist time. What can I say?
They did that movie during the time, like, you know, when what's his name? That president. I'm having a brain for it.
Reagan?
When Reagan was around, because a lot of people did lose their jobs during that time, and so that was kind of like a reflection towards that.
Yeah, but the humor was again that
well, that's because he hung out with the other housewives.
Anyway, but now in The Incredibles, it really follows that. If you see the trailer, it has like apparently the mom is being called to be a super agent, and they need to succeed. And the dad, you know, Mr. Incredible, is trying to be supportive and all that. And so he says, okay, I'll be the one who stays at home and takes care of the baby and the kids. And, you know, and hilarity ensues in the trailer. There is a bad guy, but they haven't shown the bad guy. Again, there's a superhero story, but it's following the same thing. The dad, you know, the muscle big, you know, dad is trying to take care of the baby, and funny things ensue. And that has me worried. I'm like, really? I've waited a decade for a sequel to this, you know?
And then they also have the other Disney movie that's coming out later on this year would be Mary Poppins.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that at all.
Yeah, that
yeah. This will be what Yondu was, you know, referring himself to in Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's gonna be the third movie to Guardians.
yeah. Like I said, I don't really have too much high hopes for it. You know,
but the trailer looked good.
I don't know. I mean, they have a tough act to follow, so we'll see what happens with that.
Wow. Well, to be supportive, the trailer, as short as it was, we've only saw like a minute trailer. It had that charm. But then Emily Blunt kind of has a charm to her, and I think she could do it. But, you know, again, it's got to be the story. But, you know, the scene that they had looked funny, and she coming back down, you know, from the clouds and all that kind of, you know, hit that nostalgia chord. that we are all kind of missing right now.
Yeah. Mario, I gotta lend you some of my movies so you could catch up.
I'll just search these things. I wanna. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a little far off from all this.
Well, those were a lot of movies that we talked about of different ones that are coming up, and we could talk more about that later.
You know, our time is coming up, and I want to thank everybody for being on the show, and I want to thank our audience for catching up with us again. You know, we're glad to be back, ladies and gentlemen. To catch up the latest nerd news and all that, you can catch our Facebook page, and we're on Facebook, Nerds on a Couch. You can look us up. Our YouTube channel, again, Nerds on a Couch, Nerds OAC, and we're glad to be here. We're going to be here, well, us here, the local guys, me and my wife, we're going to be at the El Paso Comic-Con next week. We're looking forward to that. Brent Spiner, Jonathan Frakes, Marina Sirtis, who I've made out with in the past. And I got proof. The White Power Ranger.
Our past videos.
Yeah. The White Power Ranger, Jason David Frank, who's an awesome guy. He's really a cool guy. And, you know, a lot of anime people, again, it's the nerd community. It's going to be awesome. And, you know, we're looking forward to that. We're also planning, right now we're scheduling for our summer Comic-Cons. Of course, we're going to be at the PowerCon, our friends, Val Staples at heman.org. We're looking forward to being there and covering the event again. The tickets went on sale actually today. And there's going to be 3 exclusive Masters of the Universe figures on sale. They're going to have the Filmation Spikor, the Filmation Jitsu, or Chopper, as they called him in the cartoon, and the one everybody's excited about. See here. Orko is going to have his Uncle Mortok and Driel. Yay. So his uncle and girlfriend are getting made, and those will only be sold at the Comic-Con. So pre-order for your orders. Otherwise, once that due date's over, you're out of luck. You have to go to eBay.
SOL, man.
Yeah. And so that's our convention. Again, there's going to be more added soon. I wish I could go to Dallas. Ben Affleck.
Oh, yeah, Ben Affleck.
He's going to the convention this weekend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's this weekend.
Oh, today.
Yeah.
It was today. He was there today. Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Well, it's over now. The pain's over. I wish I could have gone to that one. I wish. Sherman, you got anything up for your group and all that?
Not just yet. I mean, we do have the major ones coming up this summer where we have the MegaCon in Orlando, MegaCon Tampa that comes up at the end of the summer. Tampa Bay Comic-Con that's also coming up as well. So, and then, you know, on top of that, there are a bunch of, you know, smaller ones that are still just as powerful and enjoyable, like, oh, geez. I forget the other names, but, you know, so we got some stuff coming up, you know,
Well, you'll share them on our Facebook page.
Yeah, and as life goes, you know, it all depends on the money that we bring in in order to support our habits.
Yeah. Well, I got to point out, you know, for those who don't know, Sherman, you do a really awesome Aquaman. And now that the movie, and, you know, everybody liked Aquaman. You know, people, well, again, it was the Flash and Aquaman people liked. And so I guess that one got a little more popular now, didn't it, for you?
Say that again?
For being Aquaman? Your Aquaman cosplay?
What about it? It went out. I can hear you.
Oh, I was saying that you had a really good Aquaman cosplay. You know, and so again, as now that the movies come out and all that, have you gotten a little more attention from that?
Actually, you know what? I have a bad habit of hit it and quit it, you know. Once I do a cosplay, it's really hard for me to go back and do it. It's like I turn around and made that Rocket Raccoon and for last summer, and you know, there's some improvements I want to make to it, but I still can't even bring myself to get up and touch it. You know, I just
I know how you feel. I've had some of my coworkers ask me if I was going to go as Jigglypuff to the convention next week.
And I still have my Star Trek uniforms, but I wish I could have a next generation. But if anything, I might go in my old Star Trek for Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis and Brent Spiner. But people don't realize, it's tough. I mean, I love cosplay. And now El Paso, well, again, any Comic Con, no matter how big or small, there is great cosplay. People love to show off their costumes and all that. And El Paso has a really great cosplay community. It's a lot of love that people have gone in. And, I've seen like an 8-year, last year, Annette and I saw like a cute 8-year-old kid dressed like Lion-O. With the Sword of Omens and the big poofy orange hair to the side and all that. And, there are some other people like, dressed as Power Rangers. I imagine we're going to have a lot of Power Rangers this Comic-Con, and we always have Power Rangers show up at Comic-Cons. And of course, our friends at the 501st are going to be there. And also, yeah. Oh, and also the big exciting news for El Paso, our friend Ian Pullman is back with Sun City Sci-Fi, and he's going to have a May the 4th celebration at the pizza joint downtown here in El Paso, Texas. So there's a lot of activity going up, and we're glad to see Ian Pullman and Sun City Sci-Fi back in El Paso. Hopefully we'll get him on the show and talk a little bit more about that.
That's cool.
All right, Mario, are you going to be joining us for the EP Con?
If I don't work, which I'm not sure if I do, actually. I can check right now.
Call in sick, but wait, you're on.
I want to go because I've been wanting to go for the past year.
Don't worry, none of our bosses actually really watch me, so it's okay. Cool.
I know.
All right.
They're on apparel like a hawk.
Well, thank you for joining us, and remember to support your local fan community, support your love, because that's what nerds do. It's all about love, ladies and gentlemen. So take care. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.